Hey, thank you so much for joining us again in another edition of the Expert Interview Series. Today, we're continuing the theme with LinkedIn. And Chima Mmeje is going to run us through the exact process that she uses to never run out of ideas on LinkedIn for the content ideas, which is super important. The more content you publish, the more people you'll attract. And if you have a process like Chima does, it is, I mean, you're always on my LinkedIn. You're always coming up with good stuff about SEO and everything. So it's always one thing that your posts seem to get lots of engagement as well. But anyway.
It does. It does.
But I jumped straight in there without, saying thank you for joining us. And, do you want to give a little introduction about yourself and,
Yeah, sure. So as Pete already said, my name is Chima Mmeje. I'm an SEO copywriter, mostly working with SaaS and tech brands and sometimes fintech brands. I help those companies develop topic clusters and then turn that into content to help them rank for highly competitive keywords that they want to be pursuing. So that's what I do. It's on content strategy and the execution.
Yeah, so it's like the hub and spoke model. Yeah, so the hub and spoke model approach to it all.
Yeah, kind of like, did you say HubSpots?
No, the hub and spoke. So like, you got the core and then like the cluster articles around it.
Yes.
All right, got it. Yes, perfect. Yes. But then you are also killing it on LinkedIn, which is exactly what you're going to be sharing with us today, how you are killing it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I'll hand over to you and you can just run us through exactly what you do.
So LinkedIn is like really important. When I was starting out, the first thing I did was study those who were already successful on LinkedIn. I studied their content for like 3 months to see what they were doing, the kind of content that people were engaging with, what people didn't engage with, so that I could tailor my own strategy to something similar, because there's no use reinventing the wheel when there's something already working. So initially, I started out just writing stories, but nothing relevant to what I did, which was copywriting or SEO copywriting. So most of the leads that I was generating was generic. But the moment I decided to niche down and define myself as an SEO copywriter, and then I started creating content around SEO and copywriting, I started generating better leads. So I have a process for making sure that I always have content around what I do to show people that I'm an authority on these subjects. This is just like, what I call this like an intro to what you get when you're working with Chima. So the first thing I do that I always do is I'm always subconsciously thinking of how to turn everyday things around into content ideas. For instance, 2 weeks ago, I made a post about what was that again? Let me see. About marinating chicken. And then I was explaining how you have to marinate the chicken and how you have to put the chicken in spices, and then you have to leave it overnight if you really want the spices to get in there, right down to the bone. And everybody, by the time you're reading the post, you're already getting hungry, you're already imagining the chicken, yum. And then I tie that in to how copywriters should allow their content to breathe overnight, kind of like how you marinate chicken, so that by the next day, you can come back with freshness and look at it. I do that with everything around me. I think that's something we should always be doing. Like when you're doing stuff, you're always thinking, how do I turn this life lesson? How do I turn this thing that is so mundane into content that can tie into what I do? For instance, yesterday, I was picking out socks, and then I found out that I don't know where half of one leg of my socks are. Like I have pairs of socks, and almost every pair, I can't find one of them, and it's frustrating. And then it occurred to me that a lot of websites have tons of content that they don't know where they are. So when they need to do a website audit, content is all over the place, it's not organized, and they start missing stuff. So it's so important to keep everything organized. So you see how I tie the whole idea of always losing my socks with your website content. If you don't organize it, it will be difficult to have an audit, to do internal linking, or to arrange your asset when you need to. So that's the first thing I do.
Can I ask as well, like, so when you're walking around, do you have like notes that you take, and then maybe you don't make that connection straight away?
I just put it like,
immediately.
it's just like, yeah, in the mental, have this mental bank. I've learned to develop this mental bank where an idea comes and I just store it there. And then the next day I develop it. Or like this one I just told you has been in my mental bank for 2 days. I haven't developed it yet. It's going to be on LinkedIn next week. So I just have that mental bank and I just create one small corner of my brain where I'm storing ideas based on everything I'm seeing around me or what people are doing, what I'm observing. And I'm just storing all of that in that mental bank so I can develop that into LinkedIn, because I don't always have a pen and biro or my phone with me. So it's very, very important for me to learn how to store the stuff in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, are there some ideas that you have that you can't always tie back to like SEO?
Not always, not always. If I can tie to either SEO or copywriting, that's good.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm always looking for, a way to tie to one of those two things, because those are the two things that define what I do, SEO or copywriting. So I always have to find a way, how do I tie this story into something I do so that it's not just a story that people are laughing at, but a story that leads to a message around what I do.
Yeah. Has it become more difficult with the pandemic and lockdowns and everything?
No,
because,
I think people are more even, people are looking for content that feels more conversational.
Yeah.
Content that makes them laugh, content that makes them like laid back, and they don't have to think about what their reply is going to be like. Because of the pandemic, everything is so serious. So the more laid back you can be with your content, the easier it's going to be for people to engage with you.
I agree. Yeah. It's just interesting, because you said that you started doing these stories just for the sake of doing the stories, and then later on you started tying them back into like SEO and copywriting, which of course, you know, that latter would bring you better leads. Was it difficult to go from just regular stories to then being able to tie them back? Like, how did you make that jump? What was that bridge?
No, it was not difficult. I just realized, I just had this bulb of illumination that I'm writing all these stories and people are engaging, but nobody is coming to my inbox to ask me, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then I realized that all I just have to do is just tie it in. I put a tie in there, and then they have this, oh, if I give them that aha moment, then there's interest. And if there's interest, someone is buzzing me in my inbox, asking me, oh, I like this story you posted here, and then I want to get to know more about what you're doing.
Cool. Would you be able to share your screen and run us through like one of your little stories and then how you structure them?
Usually, that's the thing with these stories, I don't structure them. I just write them on my phone and post them direct to LinkedIn.
Okay, so there's no like structure that you use for each and every one. It's just
no. I just write them straight to LinkedIn. The only thing I structure, which I'm going to share with you in a moment, is the other types of content I create for LinkedIn. But for this storytelling bits, it always works best when I just do it down from my head and then do the time straight, so that it feels very, very organic and very conversational. If I start to think about it, I start to try to edit it, then it's going to show. Yeah. It has to look really funny, really original, and that won't happen if I'm trying to edit it or structure it.
Well, it goes back to what you said earlier, like the conversational way of telling these stories. People want that now more than ever.
Yes.
And if you're just writing it as you would tell it as a story,
yes,
it's going to work well.
Exactly. So the second way, I'm going to share my screen for that.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So the second thing I do is to turn blog posts into bite-sized content. This is like my number one approach for creating LinkedIn content. It's like the thing that gives me this endless stream of LinkedIn ideas. Every piece of content I have on my website is like 5 to 6, 7, 8 blog posts. Sorry, LinkedIn posts. So this is a post I wrote on how to create an engaging copy that sells like ice cream. And if I wanted to turn this into LinkedIn, what I'll do is, the first thing I use what I call the problem first approach. Okay, so what is the issue with creating engaging copy? What's the issue that copywriters have when they're trying to create engaging content? I define that problem first of all. I will start with a headline that says, this is the biggest problem with creating engaging content. People are already interested. Copywriters are interested because obviously some of them have that issue, getting people to spend more time reading their content, not just on LinkedIn, but elsewhere. Once you have that problem first approach, you can create that interest that forces people on LinkedIn to stop scrolling and to click that more button so that they can keep reading your content. Now that I have their interest, the next thing I'm going to do is to pick one subheading and turn each one into a post. So I've created the problem idea, the problem area. This is the biggest problem copywriters have in creating engaging content. And then I come down there and I say, they don't understand their audience. That's the first subheading here. But nobody knows that that's where I got the idea from. They don't understand their audience. And that's because they are not creating content based on search intent. And then I go down to explain why copywriters should create audience research, why they should be looking at search intent when doing keyword, and how to tie that in to create better engaging content. Now that's just one post. The next day, I'm going to create another piece of content that talks about the human ego. Do you see how everything is following each other, so that there is like a consistency with the content of yesterday and the content they're looking at today, so that it's like the ideas are following each other. So I'm talking about the human ego, and I'm telling people, okay, look at this one. This one says the human ego often takes the driver's seat where decision making is concerned. Now I will tie that into creating engaging content. If you want to engage with a reader, then you have to massage the ego. That means you have to show them that you have empathy towards their problem, that you identify with what they are going through, and that you can provide a short-term or long-term solution to that problem. So you see that the first day I was talking about copywriters not understanding the buyer or the user and not optimizing their content for search intent, because you always have to be thinking about it two ways: the buyer who is reading it and Google who is going to rank it. Those are the two things that make up that engaging factor. So that was day one. Day two, I'm talking about the human ego. Then day three, I'm talking about how probably there's a mismatch between the idea that they're trying to sell and what the reader wants to see. So every day, each subheading is a piece of content on LinkedIn for 1 week. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Can I ask as well, like, so you've got, say, 7 subheadings or whatever in a piece, then that's 7 potential content ideas.
Exactly.
Do you publish one post on LinkedIn for each subheading, or could it be 2 or 3? Or...
Yeah, sometimes if I see that the subheading is really short, I would combine it with another subheading for one LinkedIn post. But I make sure that I do one full post in a week. So I'll spread them out for 6 days of content. Okay.
And then do you link back to this post in those LinkedIn posts? Do you link back to the blog article in the LinkedIn posts?
Not always, not always. If there's a tie-in, like a direct tie-in, then I would link back to it. But most of the time, I don't link back to it, because I want them to be reaching out to me as soon as they finish reading the post, because that's what usually happens most of the time. When someone finishes reading the post, then they're coming to my inbox immediately. Then if I'm sending them to my website to read, they might get distracted. You know how people have short attention span. So to prevent that, I just want you to read that post and say, oh my gosh, you really know what I'm talking about. And then boom, come to my inbox and ask me, hey, I read this post, you really know your stuff, and let's get the conversation going, because I can convince you to become a client faster if you jump on a call than if you're reading my stuff.
So from the sound of it, you've got, like, you've spent time to write these really in-depth posts about, SEO and how these SaaS brands can improve their organic rankings. But then you're taking it to LinkedIn to make a much more direct route to your ideal client, like just basically as fast as possible to get that one-to-one.
Yes, because most of the people I do business with are from LinkedIn. Most of them are engaging with my content on LinkedIn. Most of them are reading the content on LinkedIn, not on my website. My website, I have organic readers who come through Google, some who go from LinkedIn to my website, but where the conversion really happens, from what I've seen, is through LinkedIn. It's the content on LinkedIn that convinces people that I'm an authority. So that is where I want them to focus on, all on LinkedIn.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then I guess, sorry,
yeah,
go on. I was going to say, I guess you have to keep producing good blog content so that you can keep having this thing. It's all about that flywheel, really.
Yes. You have to, the blog becomes a funnel for social media contents. Because if my number one conversion traffic is coming from LinkedIn, then my blog is more like a funnel for that LinkedIn content. And I always make sure I try to have like a call to action at the end of the LinkedIn post, telling people to reach out, send a DM or whatever to continue the conversation. Because sometimes just expecting them to follow up doesn't always happen. But if you tell them what to do, then they're more likely to take the action.
Yeah. And that's just a simple thing like connect with me here or something.
Yes, exactly. Like want to get this type of content for yourself, then reach out to me. Need something similar for your website, reach out to me. Having issues with engagement, reach out to me. Just tie in that problem as a CTA button at the end of the post.
Got it. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have an example post that we could look at?
Yeah, let me pull up my LinkedIn. Okay, so this is a post on my website right now that I did a couple of months back. The keyword is SEO copywriting checklist. I currently rank #1 for this keyword. So I made a post a few days ago on my SEO copywriting process. So you can see how I started it out. I have a word process for writing SEO content. Watch an episode of a funny TV show, look through the top 10 sites, ranking for that keyword, take a long nap, think of the structure, and then create the content outline. All of this is coming from this post on SEO copywriting checklist. Okay. So this is my checklist. I just picked all of this.
Yeah.
And turned it into one LinkedIn post. This is a LinkedIn post, but to make it more engaging, I added a conversational tone to it so that it doesn't just look like I'm just drilling down the list of things I do. So it still ties into the importance of always adding that engagement element when you're turning a blog post into a LinkedIn post.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So
yeah.
on the blog post, I did not say I watched TV shows like All Hail King Gillian or a skit on YouTube that makes me laugh. And I did not say that I take a long nap where I think of the structure or I wake up and clean the house top to bottom. But on LinkedIn, because I want to make the content more conversational, I want people to smile, laugh, go like, oh yeah, I do these things too. Like I wanted to have a deeper connection with the content. So I say all these extra things I do that I'm not going to tell the clients, but people who are reading it here, we feel like they're talking to a human being more than if I was listing down a long list of all the whole bullet points of everything I do when writing SEO content. So you can see this here. I say, depending on the type of copy, research content gaps, do keyword research, use SEMrush and software SEO to flesh out semantic words and secondary phrases, create an SEO content outline, write the introduction, and all of this. If you come back to this piece, you still see similar things here. Add a meta description, include keywords, break text with bullet points, and everything I do to write SEO copy. Okay, so yeah. I did something similar again. Let's see if I can find another example.
So, okay. But at the bottom of that one, what's your process? I was wondering what the CTA was. So you've just asked people a question to get them to engage, so that then it obviously
yes. Like at the end of the post, if I'm not putting a CTA, asking clients to reach out, I'm asking people a question that will get them to share their process in the comment section.
Yeah.
Or that will get them to just write a comment, because if you can tie that post to a question, then you're going to get more people commenting on it than if you were just writing and talking to yourself. Because obviously the whole point is engagement, because more engagement leads to more people seeing your content and hopefully the right person who wants to become a customer. So I want to see if I can show another example. Okay, yes. So there was something I posted. Okay, another tip I use that really works out well if you're trying to build authority on LinkedIn is going to industry blogs, looking at their contents, and then using that to inspire your own posts. Okay, so this was one I made 2 days ago. Yeah, this one. This is a massive mistake I keep seeing in SaaS content marketing. You spend 80% of your budget on top of the funnel keywords because you think they'll drive traffic. And you can see this. So this is about a big mistake in SaaS content marketing. It's just like what I told you, the strategy I use. Highlighting the problem, first of all, to get people to stop scrolling, which is this first line here. Massive mistake I keep seeing in SaaS content marketing. People are going to stop and say, oh yeah, what's that mistake she's talking about? Yeah, let's see, because they just want to know what they don't already know. So you have to start with that problem as your first line of sentence if you want them to start scrolling. And then everything else is just following from there. You spend 80% of your budget on top of the funnel keywords because you think they'll convert. This is true. Most content marketers actually spend most of their budget on top of the funnel keywords. And at this point, you're like, oh, yeah, she's right. Okay. And then I'm going down. I'm talking about what they are doing wrong. And then this is why I give them the solution. If you want conversion now, go after middle and bottom of the funnel keywords. Search volume is lower, but traffic is meaningless if it doesn't convert. So that doesn't end there. I also give them examples, a few examples, something that they can implement on their own immediately. Comparison keywords. Anybody who's using this, looking at this, can go and turn this into, if you have a SaaS product, you can easily turn this into something that you can do for yourself. Okay, I can do comparison keywords. Yeah, who are my competitors? Then they will create a couple of comparison keywords, maybe landing pages or long form blog posts around it. Best X tools. Easily, you can turn this into content just by looking at all of these examples. Very easy to implement. Okay, and then I also try to include my keywords so that those who are not connected with me but are searching for content around these keywords can find me. Now let me show you where I got this content from. I was looking at something on Grow and Convert. I really like their sites. Their blog is amazing.
Great site. It is.
Yes, yeah. And they were talking about SaaS content marketing, and everything they said was hitting home. And then I said, if this is hitting home for me, then it's going to hit home for every other person who does SaaS content marketing. So you can see this here. Most marketers assume that everyone starts at the top of the funnel and slowly makes their way down the funnel via nurturing content and more. So this is basically me just summarizing what they've said into a short form LinkedIn post. And that post generated 3 leads for me. I'm about to conclude with the first one. I've got another meeting with the second person with other 2 people on one day from one post, and the idea wasn't even mine. But who cares? Who cares? If you can show yourself up as the authority and you can give people an answer to a problem they are facing that sets you apart from everybody else, then you already have one step in the door. And when people reach out to you because they think you're an authority, they're not going to ask you for samples. That's what I've been realizing. I'm getting less people asking me for samples and more people who don't want to see my face to make sure I'm real, ask me what I do, ask me what my process is like, and then how much does it cost? And boom, we're on. So there's less roadblock.
Yeah, you can charge those people more.
Exactly. There's less roadblock because I don't have to prove myself. They've already seen my content and they already believe that, oh, this thing she's saying is right, and they are ready to go. So this is a great idea that I use when creating content. Here's another example. This is a post I saw on Content Marketing Institute that talks about using how-to posts to how to optimize your how-to posts. Okay. Now, what I did was that sometimes before I turn this into LinkedIn content, I want to test it on my own website to see if it works. And then if it works, and I can show people that this actually works, oh my God, then they're already falling over their head. Oh God, yes, Chima with the truth. So that's what I did with this one. Now I took everything in this article and I put it in this post, this SEO copywriting post. So that's where you see this at the top. Here, all of this in bullet points. This was the major thing they said to do: put everything in a listicle format, put it in bullet points, and then wrap it up with links that redirect to each subheading. The moment I did this, I was already on page 1 for this keyword, but I was somewhere around number 7 or 8. This post went up from number 7, 8 to number 1, which means that the tip that what's his name? Yeah, that Alex Chris was sharing in this article. I think I've forgotten the website it works for, but it's a pretty big site, and I also follow them too. What they are saying here actually works. So I can turn this into a LinkedIn post and then tell people that this is something I did that took me from number 8 for a keyword to number 1 for a keyword. Anybody who is seeing that headline is going to stop scrolling because they want to know, what did she do? What is that inside that tip? I want it. I want it. That is what I do. So if you can give people, that's what I say, always start with that problem-based headline on your LinkedIn post or that solution. Just give them something that makes them stop scrolling, because people are scrolling endless on LinkedIn looking for something that looks engaging, so that they can put a like on it, put a comment, just engage. They're begging for a reason to engage with you. So I give them that reason with problem-based headlines. So this is basically everything I do to create content for LinkedIn. Number 1, take inspiration from things around me. Always subconsciously thinking about how I can turn my daily experiences into LinkedIn stories that tie into what I do, which is SEO and copywriting. Number 2, take blog posts and turn them into conversational posts on LinkedIn. It's not just to take those blog posts and turn them into LinkedIn posts, but to add that conversation element so that it's more engaging, more conversational, and people feel like they're talking to a friend who really gets them than an authority who is just here to dish out insider or expert tips. And then the third one, which I think is the best for building authority, is going to industry blogs like Content Marketing Institute, Grow and Convert, and the rest of them, and taking something that is new to you, because if it's new to you, then there's a good chance that it's going to be new information for everybody else on LinkedIn who probably doesn't have the time to read all these blogs. So that's what I do. This is everything I do to create content on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's really good. And we can see as well from when you were going through your LinkedIn post, the engagement that you get on these posts is huge, especially now with the LinkedIn algorithms seems to be punishing a lot of people.
Yes. I noticed that the LinkedIn algorithm is unforgiving if your content, if your content is not educating people or teaching them something new, or is not informing in a way that they think we get people to really say, oh, this is something new. They're not going to share your content to people, honestly. That's why you see people getting 5 likes and then they have like 10,000 followers. And you're like, how does someone with 10,000 followers only get 5 likes on a post?
But I think as well, you made a good point. Educational has to be educational, has to be useful for people, but it also has to be conversational and fun to read, because nobody's going to share no one's going to read the boring business.
Yes, exactly. Like nobody wants to read all that business talk. Like, I get you, this is LinkedIn, but we are humans first. Humans want to connect with humans. Humans want to laugh with humans. Humans want to read your post and feel like, oh my God, this has happened to me. This is me. She's talking about me. Because you have to make it about them, which also ties down to the ego element. If you make it about them, then they're going to drop a like and they're going to drop a comment on that post, and you'll be top of their mind, which is where you always want to be.
Yeah, because that's when they reach out and say, hey, I need some help.
Yes.
But thank you so much for running us through the process and giving us your time. Where is the best place for people to connect with you?
Yes, on LinkedIn, my name.
Okay.
Chima Mmeje. Just search my name, Chima Mmeje, on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Search me on Twitter, Chima Mmeje.
Okay, so I'll pop a link down to your LinkedIn in the comments as well. So if you want like a quick way to go and connect with Chima, you just scroll down a little bit. There'll be a link there. We'll pop your website in there as well so that people can go and look at the content that you're producing.
Yes. Zenithcoffee.com.
Yeah, and so we'll pop that down in the description as well. But thank you. Is there anything you'd like to finish on to tell people before we cut this?
Yeah, like one thing I've realized that people are scared to create content on LinkedIn because they feel like I have to be an authority to create content on LinkedIn. That's not true. That's just bullocks. Like, I don't know where people get the idea from. Yeah. You have to start from somewhere. And starting from somewhere is a place of vulnerability. You need to show people that you're not an expert, but you have an idea of what you're talking about, and that is how you build authority. You don't build authority by claiming to be an authority. You build authority by showing expertise with the content you create. People don't care if you have 2 or 5 or 10 years of experience. I've only been doing freelance copywriting for 2 years, and I get at least 5 people every week asking me, when am I going to create a course on SEO copywriting? And this is something I've not been doing for that long. But that's because of all the content I'm putting out on LinkedIn. So it is that content that makes you an authority, not your years of expertise. So just start writing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if anybody is worried about not having that expertise, I guarantee there's somebody with less experience sharing more than you right now.
Yes.
So just go out and do it. What's the worst that can happen? You learn something new.
Exactly.
But perfect. All right. So again, thank you for your time. We'll pop all the links so people can connect with you in the different areas just in the description below. And I'll see you on LinkedIn, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Peter. Have a good day.
You too. See ya.